and then quickly on some cloud certification tracks. So first up is the cloud readiness or lack thereof, and this might be you or this might be some organizations, and I hear it all the time. They say, yeah, I've heard too much about cloud, or I don't really know what it is, or yeah, it's not really for me, and I'm not really interested in it. But I really hope this is not you, because if you look at some of the statistics, it shows that 80% of large organizations will use the cloud within 2 years, and yeah, that's obviously sent by Gartner, and every year that they publish information, it's just evident that cloud will impact you whether you like it or not. And so, is the organization ready? I think what we see is that, like I said in the beginning of the webinar, using cloud, and even for organizations, using cloud is very, very easy. But really using it to your benefit, that's a lot more difficult, and really controlling it is a lot more difficult. The organizations are using Dropbox, they use some online SaaS solutions like software as a service, and buying it and purchasing it is very easy. But then really using it properly, that's a lot harder. And I think if you look at certifications and what they could provide and what they teach you, I think it's something that's very valuable to both you as an individual and your value that you can provide to an organization, as well as an organization that it will now be more confident and better equipped to actually use cloud computing and all of the technologies that are offered today, and also making sure that you're taking the right decisions. So some considerations: PPT, people, process, and technology, and that doesn't stand for PowerPoint. So for example, if you look at people, there's an impact of cloud on you, and what is that impact? Do you know how cloud will impact you today, or how cloud impacts you perhaps in a later stage? But also, are you ready for cloud? Are organizations ready? What type of skill gap does exist now, and what kind of skills gap does exist in a couple of years? And I'll get to that in the next slides. Chirag, now could you open up the poll whether people are impacted by the cloud yet?
Sure,
So
I will do that.
I think that's that last poll. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would like to hear from you here on the attendees on the webinar. Have you seen an impact yet of cloud computing on your specific role or on your organization? So
they're voting.
Have you seen an impact yet? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll stop talking for a second, and I'll let you answer the question.
Sure. Interesting answer coming up. Let's give it maybe 30 odd seconds, and then we can close it.
Okay. I'm personally pretty curious to see the results as well.
Yes. Okay, so we can read out the answers now. So 37% say yes, somewhat. 33% yes, a lot. 24% not yet, but will be, and only 7% no.
Okay. Well, that's actually, thanks for sharing that, Srilak. Now I'm actually happy that we have then almost, let's say, at least more than 2/3 of people that say, yes, I am impacted by the cloud, and
right.
Let's say a third that is very impacted. If the 7% that's not impacted, I mean, that's fine too, and I'm glad actually you joined as well to just learn about this, because you've probably heard about it. But if, let's say, a lot of people were not impacted yet, then I would probably be out of a job. So I'm quite happy with the results, and hopefully have some, we can share something valuable today during the webinar. And this is a slide that I put together for, let's say, mapping organizational roles and how they are impacted by cloud computing. And what I'll pull up now, and then, by the way, Srilak, I assume that the poll is now closed.
Yes, the poll is closed.
Okay, thank you. And that I'm not asking you to read all of these names. For example, I just put all of the roles that a typical organization has. So the IT specialist, that's typically, let's say, a large role within an organization. And then you have process specialist and security specialist and again, don't try to read all of the roles, but these are just an example of some roles within an organization. Then we have technical services, like infrastructure guys, computer operators, coordinators. Those roles typically exist as well. We have project managers that do all kinds of stuff. We have vendor management skills, architects, and so on. And these are typically what you see within an IT organization, the roles that basically exist. If you then say, well, let's say that we are going to use cloud computing, how are these roles impacted? And a lot of the organizations and also people that work at these organizations don't know. So for example, let's say somebody wants to create a private cloud solution, then all the roles that you see in orange are impacted by cloud. So an application architect, but a service coordinator, they all need to know something about cloud computing, because the technologies that are used are slightly different, and sometimes the changes will be minimal, but sometimes they will be greater. And it's important that you know that if you're going to create a private cloud, then which roles of the organization are impacted and how are you managing that skill gap. Another example is, for example, if you put all the business critical applications on an enterprise cloud, so not internal but external, then it might even be possible that a lot of the roles here in red, and I mean I'm just trying to make it a little bit more dramatic, but because perhaps it's not entirely correct, but it's at least a good slide to get you thinking, like which roles will no longer be available, or are these roles going to be outsourced to somewhere. And I think that's it's important to understand kind of like this image and trying to be ahead of that change that might be coming. And then here's another example. And you could basically just use this sheet and map out, if I do this, which roles will be impacted and what am I doing to get those roles either transferred into other roles or organizations or organizational skills. So I think it's an interesting exercise to map this out perhaps to your organization. If you look at the jobs also cloud related, because it's not all bad news. The previous slides were like, wow, do I lose my job? Well, not really, because if you look at the posted job skills that the jobs that require cloud skills, that has increased between 2010 and 2012 with 400%. And I regularly look at the stats of jobs, and then you can just immediately see that the number of jobs that are opening requiring cloud skills is significantly increasing. And like I said, many jobs will be touched by cloud. So right now, like if you're a supply chain manager, you probably are required to know a little bit about the cloud. And if you're in finance, then yes, financial models of how clouds are used and the payment models behind it, those are impacted too. So if you're a finance manager, yes, it would make sense to actually have some skills on cloud computing, or at least know what it means to your organization, so you can actually have a discussion, for example, with the CIO or with the IT guys. And so that's why I really think it's important that everybody that is somewhat impacted maybe gets a certificate or does a training, or somehow show that you understand the impact of cloud to you and your organization. And there's also more good news, because a lot of the jobs for cloud skills are unfilled. So here on the screen you see the blue line, and you can see that the top there are cloud related jobs, and that's basically just increasing over time, and we expect that over the years to come that will only increase more and more as part of the non-cloud jobs. So I think that's good news, because it creates a lot of opportunities. I think also India has a lot of opportunity to actually become a country that does a lot of the cloud services or provide those to other organizations. And so I think it's a good thing that that we actually see cloud coming and cloud changing the IT landscape.